welcome to Activations with JJ, Economics and Prosperity on the New Earth, Part 6. Hello and welcome to another episode of this awesome series that I created all about abundance, prosperity, and stepping into the energy of the New Earth financially, as well as entrepreneurs. It's also really cool to talk about how we would do business on the New Earth, or people who are already stepping into that, what it looks like. I really feel like this particular series is helping model for people and describe for people things that we're very not familiar with, very unfamiliar with these concepts, because we've been living in the same type of economy for a really long time on the planet. I do know that we have had periods of peace on the earth. There have been times where the societies have lived with different economies, but we don't really have those records per se, except through maybe somebody who can channel. So I'm really excited today because I want to bring through a message from the Atlanteans, is what I'm feeling, because I really do feel like, even though they did have some issues, that there was a time period in their history where they really had this figured out. They were very prosperous and they were technologically advanced. So very similar to what we're doing. It's hard to think of a society that can run without any kind of issues as far as the economic system, the currency, and all of that, that's technologically advanced and doesn't have hiccups. I really think that it's foreign for me to even think about that. So I'm glad to be bringing in this energy. And I'm not sure who is going to come through at this point. I really just want to set the intention that whatever energy I bring through and channel is going to be knowledgeable and be able to provide us with information about how the Atlanteans lived, what their economic system looked like, even just down to like day-to-day money exchanges, right? Like, or goods exchanges. I don't know if they use money, I'm just assuming. So I want to kind of just sink into that energy, and then we'll bring through their message. Welcome to this teaching. I am a historian representing the Atlantean civilization. I am able to read the Akashic Records for you and find out any information that you need at this moment in time about the economic system of the Atlanteans. To start out with, I would like to explain that the Atlanteans did live in a very digitally savvy time period. Most of what they did was recorded on devices. In other words, all exchanges were done digitally, as they were able to measure the energy of an exchange and then translate it into a fair or just type of exchange of goods or services. This is just on an individual one-on-one basis, as people would go about marketing their goods, selling their goods, as you would say. We in Atlantis more exchanged goods than sold goods. Currency was less important to us than the energy exchange was. And again, we know that this is a little bit foreign to you, as you might wonder, how did we measure that energy? And because so many of us were able to live, quote unquote, clairvoyantly and telepathically, and were very much in tune with the energy of a situation, the energy of a person, we were able to comfortably make exchanges that were positive and just for both sides and both parties. When you have a sense of energy, when you are able to read energy, it's very difficult for dishonesty to occur. And so what happened is, over time, as people started to step into their clairvoyant and their claircognizance and all of those clairs, they started to realize that unfairness was futile and that trying to be dishonest was futile, and that everybody was kind of just an open book in an exchange, as long as a person was available and able to really transmit the energy of what they were offering. Then the other party was able to measure that and come up with a sort of an idea and an exchange that would be fair. As we move into the New Earth, I am seeing from the records that you will also be living in this manner. There will be more exchanges of goods and services than there will be of currencies. We know that many of you are very much into a currency that is prevalent, that is being developed right now as a substitute for a mineral-backed currency. That is a step in progression into measuring energy, because as you know, any digital currency is technically tapping into the energy of the collective as it moves up and down. So interestingly enough, it is able to gauge energy better than just a piece of paper or a currency that's made out of paper or coins. We realize that we are providing you with information that may not 100% be applicable to your situation today. And so we would like to provide you with information that you can utilize, that can give you a framework today. And that is, for the most part, that you possibly begin to see ways where you can exchange services and goods for other services and goods. And also where you somewhat lean away from a firm or rigid idea of a price and you allow yourselves to barter. This is already happening with some of the reselling that goes on in different marketplaces. And we know that that isn't foreign to you, but it's definitely not the standard. And so as you enter an energy exchange, especially with people who are more tapped in energetically, you can begin to experiment with this concept. You can maybe open the door and say, here is the price, or whatever fair energy exchange you would like to offer. This may not always end up in an energy exchange that's lower than the price. It actually may end up in an energy exchange that is of more value because the receiving party feels that they got more than they paid for, quote unquote, and so they are able to realize and honor that in their minds, balance out the exchange, and provide you with more compensation. Some of you do have fears surrounding this idea. We understand that. And we simply ask you to begin experimenting. There will be some who feel drawn to create entire systems that are run very smoothly based on this concept. You will begin to see quote unquote marketplaces pop up digitally and on the internet and on platforms where people are able to almost like an auction bid for things. Those are times when the energy exchange will be more balanced. For those of you who are drawn to create these types of systems, we encourage you to move forward with your inspiration to do so, as we will be beginning to bring reminders and energies and inspirations to people in that field, in the tech field and in the currency fields, to step out of what they've always known and to embrace something new. Moving on, we would like to discuss what that system might look like from a collective viewpoint. What did it look like in Atlantis? In Atlantis, it was very interesting because much of what they did at the beginning was in small tribes, as you might call them. Most of the exchanges occurred within a small tribe because there were people in every single tribe that could provide each service. So everybody had a specific duty, a good or a service that was beneficial to the whole. And these tribes were actually created based on people's strengths and weaknesses. So you would be able to be part of a tribe where your particular strength was not had by anybody else, and it was very complementary. As people step into the new earth, they may be drawn to form communities. They're almost like economic communities. And since maybe not living nearby is possible, this may be done possibly virtually. But what you will do is begin to create these little economic bubbles where you provide things that other people don't have, and they provide things that you don't have. And all of this energy exchange will happen in flow. There's very much a flow involved. As Atlantis grew in size naturally, and as their society advanced, there would be certain areas, certain regions of land where they had a strength. They were able to provide something for the collective. And they would be in charge of certain chips or certain crystals, certain foods. This is already prevalent in your existing economic system. But what is happening right now is the energy exchange is out of balance, and people providing things aren't being justly compensated for what they provide. In the new earth, things will be balanced out more, where everything, every service, every good will be valued for what it's really worth, instead of certain goods or certain services being looked down upon because somebody doesn't have a level of education, even though they have a level of skill. People will begin to judge things by how much skill it takes to do it, not by how much education someone has who is doing it. Due to this, people who are able to read energy will begin to stay away from those providing goods or services that are of a lower energy value. They will really be able to tap into the energy of the person who has created the good or who is doing the service and see if that is a good fit for them. Someone might have a great deal of education or a title or even a standing in society, but because their energy is not resonating at the point that you might want to do business with, you will not be drawn towards them. That person will therefore have a reduction in the amount of exchanges they're doing and may be drawn to changing their energy from the inside out in order to adjust that and begin to attract more people. In other words, there will be a lot of people who are reevaluating what they do because they are realizing that it's not their passion and that it shows in their product or in the service that they offer. All of this rebalancing of energy that will occur as we step into the new earth economy will result in something similar to what happened in Atlantis when it was at its height. It did go through a time where it went to a height, when it went to the flowering of the society, and then there was obviously a downfall where there was some destruction, there were some divisions, there were some social classes created, but we want to speak to what Atlantis was like at its very height. And at its very height, every single individual in the society did have their basic needs provided for. That was done naturally as a result of the balance that was created in the energy exchanges, not just individually, but collectively. Every single person had their needs met. They were able to connect with what their needs were. They were able to connect with what would provide them and fulfill those needs. And there was a consistent flow between the fulfillment of needs and the needs being expressed. Therefore, in the society, as everyone had their needs met, they were able to sink into their heart space, come from a place of love rather than fear when they sought out the desires that they would want in addition to their needs. Everyone had their basic needs met, but they also had passions and interests that they wanted to pursue that required an energy exchange. Say they were a potter and they needed clay to create their pottery. Say they had a passion for traveling and they wanted to go throughout the earth. Maybe they were doing healing on the earth and they needed to be there physically. All of these needs were met, even though everybody had different needs, because there was a fulfillment of the basic needs, a passion in their heart, and then on the other end, those providing the service or the goods that were needed tapped into that passion, honored that passion, and knew that that was that person's role in society to perform. And therefore, it was a complete cycle and a complete fullness of exchange that occurred. It really was a flow. If there's any one thing that we can tell you about this time period, is that there was a flow in the economy. Those of you who are tapped in more to economics, to the financial structures and systems of the world, you may begin to perform energy work on those systems. We encourage you to do so. Those of you who feel drawn to be informed about the economics, to be informed about business on the planet, you will start to begin to feel a need to do energy work. Of course, within your mind, you may do it in meditation where you feel blocks in the systems of the world. Not everyone will be called to do this. Some of you feel called to heal other aspects of society. But those of you who feel drawn to do so, step 1, become informed about the systems and the flaws within the systems, and you will begin to know about the energy blocks within the systems. Regionally, as a collective, within certain currencies, within certain political structures, you can then take your thoughts and analysis of that, step into your power, and manifest the new earth. This may be done not just all by yourself, but you may begin to form groups and organizations who can do this energetic work and heal the financial systems, bringing you to also a very in-flow structure of finances and economy, just like the one that was in existence at the time of Atlantis. Again, the power is in your hands. We feel like when we talk about some of these, we want you to understand you feel disempowered, or there's a subconscious feeling of disempowerment. That's one thing the Atlanteans had. They were coming from a place of love instead of fear about their finances, about the economy. They trusted other people. As long as we don't trust the divinity within other people and honor the divinity within other people, they will never live up to it. In the new earth, we will begin to see people for who they are, beyond their flaws. We will be able to honor the divine person that they are, and they will step into that. So many people are only acting according to what the collective has created them to be. As long as the collective is sending energies of corrupt politicians or corruption in the financial systems of the world, those things will be manifest. When the collective begins to speak love and trust into the systems, because the systems are living, they are living things. This is something you don't understand. The systems are living things. And as long as you're disappointed in the systems, they will not live up to that higher potential that they have. And when we talk about systems, we know that you think, well, some of these systems are completely broken. Yes, they are in a way. But if you take that core of what that system is and what its intention is to provide for the needs of society, for instance, and then you begin to speak love into that system, you begin to work with that system energetically, you begin to manifest in your mind on behalf of the collective a system that is whole, a system that is just, a system that does provide for the needs of everyone successfully, not just in thought, but also in action, then that system will step into whatever it is you create. Again, this goes right back to what we are trying to convey to you, and that is during the flourishing of Atlantis, the people understood their role as creators. They did not give up their sovereignty, and they worked together collectively in their power. After a while, some of that system disintegrated for many different reasons, but it is possible for you on Earth today to attain that and to step into that as a collective. So much of what we are saying depends on the work of the collective. We want to emphasize that. We would like to finish our transmission at this time, but encourage you to reach out to the energy of the flourishing Atlantis, the height of Atlantis. And as you reach out to that energy, you may be visited by other individuals who have information for you. And that information will assist you in allowing the economics and prosperity of the new earth to truly manifest. Thank you for taking the time to listen to this channeled message. as we near the end here, I just want to recap for a second some of the things that were brought out. One of them was opening up pricing, right? It was kind of about like how we price things and pricing it with more of an openness to where people would barter, I guess you could say, which does exist in some areas of the world. There are definitely ways that the bartering does happen, but I think they're talking about more of a large-scale bartering and a bartering that is beneficial to both the purchaser and the one who is offering the item. So that's something interesting to think about. The other one that really stood out to me personally, and I'll probably have to go back and listen to this too because I was channeling and I wasn't really paying attention as much as I was trying to bring through the message. But one of them was about how we as a collective can manifest the systems and the structures that we want to exist on the planet for the new Earth. It's really up to us, I guess is what I'm trying to say. It's up to us. Wow. That feels empowering. Definitely going to have to think about it. And I'm really excited about bringing more through from some of these, I guess you could say they were experts on how all of this worked. It is a little intimidating to me because my expertise is not the economy. I'm not an economist, but I feel like as a healer and a light worker and a way shower, there's definitely a role I could play. All of us could play in creating this new Earth and providing, inviting more than anything else, inviting and manifesting that everyone on the planet will have their basic needs met and that they'll be able to pursue their passions without any obstacles. Again, thank you for spending this time with me. As always, the divinity within me honors the divinity within you. Namaste.